Moana Pasifika. So we're going to deep dive the ins and outs, their best 15 and all the changes that's going on that team over there. Based in Auckland still this year, right? I know that their coaching staff have been quoted saying that they're hoping in the next 5 years to have the development pathway significantly better through Samoa and Tonga, but obviously that's going to take a little while to set up. So at the moment, very much a similar side to last year, but still leaning on New Zealand rugby to help it I think, help with a lot of the infrastructure as well.
Yeah, look, they're a year further into their development. A lot of players blooded for the first time in professional rugby last year, or taking a step up from Mitre 10 Cup. So it'll be really interesting to see with another year on the belt how they go. And I mean, if you're not watching, guys, we've got a photo of a man that we are keen to see more of throughout the year, Tava Tavanawai. I think we'll say him a few more times throughout this pod. So
yeah, I'm sure. All right, so if we go to the squad first, the significant ins and outs. Firstly, there's only actually one newly signed player, one. His name is Miracle Fai'i Ilangi, and he is a young back rower. I think he's 23 years old, I want to say, out of Samoa. I didn't realize this before reading up about him, but World Rugby are holding like a Pacifica opportunity, training camp, basically, where the Moana Pasifika coaches went out and had a look, and they were hoping to sign a couple of players. Miracle ended up being the standout performer. He did play Samoan sevens internationally last year as well. So, he's obviously a fit young guy, dynamic back rower. So it's going to be exciting to see him go around. And then the other players that are new on contracts, you've got Abraham Pole, Mahonri Ngakuru, Michael Curry, and D'Angelo Leawilla. I can't speak today. Leawilla. So there's a few guys there that have earned full contracts that were actually in and around the squad last year and ended up getting some time. So those names are probably a little bit more familiar.
Yeah, and there's been a few losses as well. I mean, there's actually quite a long list, but the ones to note are Veikoso Poloniati, Henry Tima-Stowers, that's a big one to lose. Solomoni Kata, who looks like he's doing pretty well physical, playing overseas in the Exeter Chiefs, and Nigel R. Wong, who has returned to Bay of Plenty.
Yeah, just some quality players there, which is going to be interesting to see, players that maybe aren't quite as well established at this level and how they're going to fill in. The big one for me was Poloniati, just because they don't have a lot of established locks, and I think that's probably one of their weaker areas. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah, look, there's a few players there in the locks that are interested to see, but they just don't have that much, cohesion and experience. So if we go across into their top side for this year, so not their starting side round one necessarily, but what we think their top side will be, we've got Abraham Pole, Ray Nuia, and Sekopi Kepu as the front row. Obviously, Sekopi Kepu, just a stalwart of the game, and a real leader in this side. So it's just great to see him still playing over there. We've got Mike Curry and Sam Slade in the locks. Solomone Funaki at the 6 jersey. Really excited to see more of him. Alamanda Motunga and Jack Lamb at number 8.
Yeah, and in the backs, you got Jonathan Tamatini, Christian Leafano, Danny Tuala, Levi Moore in the centres, and then we've gone with Timothy Tavanawai on the left wing. Probably the player of the year last year in our eyes, I'm sure. Tima Fenga-Anuku, obviously brother playing over in the Crusaders, and then William Habili in the fullback jersey.
That's a pretty solid back line. Pretty exciting to watch. Yeah, if we go across into the bench, we've got Ludaru Tolai, Ezekiel Lindemuth, Joe Apakatoa. Then locks, we were talking about a little bit before. I think maybe Alex McRobbie, but also we've got Mahonri Ngakuru. Then for the back row cover, we've got Sione Tuapolotu, who plays for Samoa.
Yes, yeah. And then also Arianari we've got as the reserve halfback in the squad, probably going to be their next choice there. Henry Teifu, who may very well start a fair few games. And then we couldn't split between Anzelo Tuatavaki and Tomasi Alessio. So there's obviously a lot of opportunity for the players in the outside backs. There's just so many dynamic players.
Yeah, we can't leave out. They've also got Naramai Formai
There's so many in the outside backs.
There's a lot of talent there. Vicinea as well. So there's a lot in the outside backs.
Yeah. Let's go key questions. For me, the biggest question is, will they settle on a top 15 and 23, or will they continue to rotate the squad? Obviously we had that discussion with the Indrua that they had spoken about the fact last year was their time to give everyone a chance, but this year they really want to get some continuity. What do you think the approach is going to be from Super Rugby Pacific, and have you heard the coaching staff say anything about it?
Oh, look, I don't think I've actually heard them come out and say anything, but you've got to assume it's going to be pretty similar. There was a lot of guys blooded to this level throughout 2022. Not a lot of ins in this squad. So my assumption would be we're going to see them, start pretty early with what they think their top side might be. We might see a couple of changes as players sort of evolve throughout the season, but I think they're going to be trying to pick and stick through a lot of this season.
Yeah, it did look like they kind of worked out who their strongest side was last year, but it didn't change them from making wholesale changes and putting their second side on a lot of weeks as well.
Yeah, I think we've got to realise that they also didn't have a huge build-up into the season. Like a lot of these guys were getting pulled in really late last year, where they've got a full preseason in now, so they don't necessarily need to worry, I think, as much about those minutes and, trying to make sure players aren't, pushed too hard too early throughout the year.
I think it'll help that they're not going to play half a dozen games midweek as well. That would be a pretty big challenge, and probably one of the reasons you get that change.
True. I don't know. It was like 4 games in like 12 days or something ridiculous. 4 or 5 days games.
Anyway, we got the squad, actually the whole squad for 2023 on the screen as well, but there's a few selection headaches that we just want to discuss. The first one is at hooker. We got Lotaru Tolai, Ray Nuia, and Samuela Molly as well. All three got significant game time last year. I've gone, I should say, with Ray Nuia and Lotaru Tolai in that order. What do you think?
Oh, look, I'm probably on I think they're very close. But yeah, I'm probably on the same sort of pegging with you there. That's probably the way I would be going, but it is hard to know. They're maybe the more two experienced players there, so I think they're going to get the runs.
Yep. The next one was at lock. We've picked Sam Slade. I think we were, he's a favourite of ours before the season even started last year with his bleach blonde hair and the athletic things that he can do. And then I mentioned that they've had a change in their second row because Poloniardi has left. Mike McKee seemed to be the next. Mike Curry, seemed to be the next choice. He's obviously a blindside flanker as well, so can play across the forward pack. But seemed to be their next choice. We've also got Nankuru, who is straight out of. What's it called? Help me out here. He plays with Crusaders.
Mitre 10?
Yeah, Mitre 10, not Christchurch.
Oh, Canterbury.
No.
Tasman.
Yes, yeah. Tasman Mako. Yes, so lock out of there as well, and obviously got some game time last week as well, and then last year, and then you got Mike McKee as well, who also got a fair bit of time, and Alex McRobbie got a lot of time as well. So they've got options there.
Yeah. Look, Mick Robbie, I thought was quite an exciting player when we see little bits and pieces of him. So it's hard to know without that experience who you're going to pick out of those next couple guys, though.
Yeah. I'm gonna put it down as Michael Curry. Obviously, I picked him in the 23 and the 15 side as well. So I just think that they showed late in the season that that's the way that they were going to kind of lean. But obviously, there's a fair bit of competition around that jersey as well. Whereas I think Sam Slade will probably hold down one locking spot.
Yeah, look, for me, Sam Slade's the man that's locked in throughout the whole list. But I do think Curry is probably a good choice too.
Loose forwards. Now, I'm not going to list off all the loose forwards because we'll be here all day, but we've gone, as we said, with Solomoni Funaki, Alamanda Matunga, and Jack Lamb. Obviously, Team A Stour has not been there this year. Jack Lamb, we're picking to step up. He's obviously a bit of a leader in that side, and he is an elder statesman as well. So there's some opportunities there, but there's just so many players that can be so damaging. We've gone with Sione Tuipulotu on the bench. I think he very much may push into the starting Simon's side, and same with Lotu and Isi as well.
Yeah, Tuipulotu actually throughout the back end of the year got quite a few runs. Seemed to start kind of owning that 6 jersey through periods with Team Stours and that 8 jersey. I think throughout a lot of that, there was an injury to Matunga. through periods of that as well. So it's going to be interesting to see. But you've gone the elder statesman, the more experienced players there. But the one who could upset it, I think, is Tua Qualipu.
Yep. And then finally, the outside backs. I think everyone knows now that Timothy Tavatavanawai is going to be first picked on any team list. I think if he got picked up for the Crusaders, he'd be playing All Blacks, and then he'd be the breakout player of the year that year, let's be honest.
Or he was playing for the Wallabies, or
wherever. Yeah, particularly New Zealand. But anyway, he'll be on one wing. I'm pretty confident myself that William Mabili is going to be at fullback.
Yeah,
I would say he made that jersey his own in the back end of last year. Then I remember them talking, I think it's for Tonga. He plays for Tonga. They called him in as the backup fly half in their squad for the first time last year, despite the fact that he played fullback all the way through, and he ended up playing the last test of the year for Tonga at 10. And then he also ended up as the 10 for Tasman Mako as well for the whole year last year as well, just playing 80 minutes week in, week out. So he's obviously been developed a lot over the last 12 months as a playmaker. And I think having that second playmaker out the back to help get the ball out to the likes of players like Tavanawai, I think it's just logical, to be honest.
Yeah, and he's got a really good boot on him. So I think he can help control the side with Lili Afano as well. So for me, he's the most logical pick. If they wanted a dynamic lineup, they could be doing things like throwing Tuala in there, which they've done, or maybe Visania in there as well. But to me, for me, I think Havili's the man.
My gut feel is Visania is a little way away from the starting side. He probably was the least favoured last year. Yeah. But the other players there, we still have a right wing to fill. We've gone with Timo Fenga-Anuku. I think at his best, he was probably the guy putting his hand up, but maybe not quite as consistent as you'd like as well. Do you think that he's got much pressure from anyone in particular with Tuatavuki, Visania, Formai, Alessio? There's a lot of guys there. And, the other one I should mention is Dan Tuala, often pushed back to 15 last year, so Taifu could start as well. So
that was going to be the next thing I said. Again, it's what do you do with your centres? If Taifu is in the centres, Tuala's in that outside backs, that could be a likely thing to upset him. But playing Anuku and Tavanawai are both very strong physical wingers. So it depends if they want to point a difference on one of the wings. Tuala, if he is filling in a wing, we saw him filling points there as well as fullback. He is quite a different style winger. So it depends if they want to give him a crack, or, even, as you said, for Maya, he had chances last year and looked quite impressive as well.
Yeah, I think my pick is obviously, he named it in the side, but Tuatavuki and Alessio, I think they're probably, if they're looking for someone with a different profile, probably the most likely options. Yeah. One more question I've got here. Basically, is there a handover that's going to occur from Sekope Kepu and Christian Leali'afano, or will they continue to play big minutes? Where do you think they're at?
Look, I think they're going to want to keep building and moving forward. They probably want to have some consistency with these players through there. So I don't think we're seeing lots of changes and them not really getting those runs in those positions. I think they want that experience, continuing to build cohesion around them and making this side stronger and more competitive moving forward.
Yeah. And look, I agree. Leali'afano, he was apparently quoted saying to Aaron Major that he reckons he's got plenty more years in him. So I don't think he's looking at handing over the reins after this year, to be honest. Sekope Kepu as well, I just think there's a very large gulf to their next tight head as well. So I think they'll be trying to get whatever they can out of him to try and be successful now, and then worry about building the next tight head as a secondary issue. Yep. Having said that, though, I would just mention Lincoln McClutchy still with that side, and obviously very, very skilled. Arian Nari the same. There was a real battle for the jersey with Tamatini there as well. And special mention to D'Angelo Leawila as well. Plays a lot of 12 for, I think it was Tasman, but played a lot of minutes this year as well in the MPC, and plays international footy as well. So a pretty impressive young guy as well.
He's Waikato.
Yeah. All right, stocks rising, else.
For the stocks rising, we've got Abraham Pole. He went from injury cover at the Crusaders to joining Moana Pasifika, and then really established himself in that starting side. And I think he's quite a solid scrummager, a solid player for them. So we've got him down as, their starting loose head prop, and I think he's quite a good player for them.
Yeah, he was outstanding last year. I think you're right. I think I'll hold that. The other one I had was William Havili, who I've talked about already. I think he's just established himself as probably the next guy in line to really start steering the ship around.
Yep.
And, Lincoln McClutchy is obviously another young playmaker that might get some time, but considering Havili's preference to play 15 in this side and he can shift up as a second playmaker, I think he's going to have a big season.
Yep. And then if we go across the stocks falling, we've got Henry Taufu. It's a tough one. I'm a fan of Henry Taufu. We've got Danny.
So am I.
Yeah, Levi Mua is obviously their first choice centre. He's the man you're throwing in no matter what for me. And we've given Danny Tawala that other centre jersey. But even if Taufu is getting runs, they're sharing game time. Yeah. So that's a difficult thing for him. So he had a good season. He was quite a pivotal player for them when he got the chances and when he was on the field. But yeah, maybe his minutes will be decreasing a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the Smokies, I've talked about him once already, but I'm going to go with Miracle Fai-Ilangi. I just think that any 2 meter tall, 103 kilo Samoan back rower, only 23 years old, who's got sevens fitness coming into the game, I wouldn't mind if they gave him a run early in the season so we can see how he can actually play. And it makes you excited, to be honest. He's one of those characters that I'm sure if Cargie was here, he would have said his name another 5 or 6 times by now for sure.
Definitely. And one more, Tavatavanawa. Let's just mention that name one more time before
Stock's
we move
rising.
on. Yeah, Stock's rising. He was amazing, but let's just push him up even further this year.
Well, I think he was number 1 in the fantasy footy game last year. So
on my side. So
yeah, didn't get you anywhere though, did it? All right.
What about the regular season?
Regular season means nothing much, mate. That's the Blues, but we're not talking about the Blues.